Yes, go ahead, Mr. Jackson has a question.
Scroll up. Yeah, well, two things. The other income, well, what are some of the things that's in there?
You know, I was researching that because I guess in the past, that's been a catch-all account. And I will send you all the detail that goes into there. And here's a conglomerate of collections from, actually, a lot of them probably need to be redistributed out of there. And I'll be able to give you a better answer when I go back and look at all of the activity that is that account.
And the special assessment, is that the trash?
No.
What special assessment collections?
The other special assessment could be like the grass. There's, different types of assessment that come on the property tax bill. So we'll be doing that in September. And it'll be like for the grass or any other assessment that the city has placed on the property. I cannot tell you what they all are now, but just looking at the historical, it seems like it's been coming in at about $240,000 a year. So, but I'll make a note to give you all the details. That was one of the things that I was trying to look up before I came over here, the system.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Can I just ask a real quick question about the homestead and rollback? Because I do understand that, seniors are still getting homestead regardless of the new way of applying, but I thought they got rid of the rollback. So
Well,
are we still including that in as income?
it sort of come together. I mean, they sort of lump it together, homestead and rollback. If it has been, it won't show probably
Until
until
next year?
Yeah,
Because of the
right,
property
because
tax?
it's a year
Okay.
behind. The collections that you see on here is for the calendar year 2013. So whatever the property taxes or assessments, they're from the prior year. They're usually paid about 6 months after. So when we receive our July election, it will be for half of last year. So, So that's pretty much the revenue. I mean, it's pretty basic. The only thing that was added in was the traffic camera, and the others were adjusted. And the rest of the revenue items are the special funds. And like I say, hopefully we could go through that separately at our next meeting. And we'll have the associated expenses because that's pretty much self-driven. Those are the dollars. Okay, we can move to the expenses of online secure grants. So on the expenses, the appropriations, the first column should mirror what we had sent back in March to the county auditor. The second column again is the actual 2013 unaudited, so that we can have a comparison of changes. And then the last column reflects the revised. When I prepared the revised, whether or not it was budgeted, if there had been expenditures in those columns, they're included in here because we can't just wipe them off the books. So in some instances, you may see where they may be over the original budgeted amount, but if there were some expenditures there, and in some instances there were, based on emergency needs and what have you. So, the mayor may want to speak to his changes in the staff, but as you go, there were some changes and they're reflected in these numbers in some of the departments. So you see that the staff is reduced. And then also,
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
What page are you on now?
okay, I'm on the expense, unless you have some question about the revenue,
The expenses?
yeah, the appropriations.
It says Police Department at the very top.
Okay, thank you.
So for comparative analysis, you have the original appropriations in the first column, the budget that we're using at this point, and then the actual expenditures from last year. And then the last column are the proposed revised for your review. So even though there may have been some staff changes or what have you, you won't see the full effect of those probably until next year. We had several payouts, which sort of offset some of the salaries, and that's why we look different, even though there may have been some changes in the personnel. And the other change is the health insurance. The premium cost to the city is less. And that's reflected under the 7170, which is towards the back on page 8. It's on page 7, I apologize. The way it's been captured here in the city is on the miscellaneous expenses. When I send the actual, when we finalize the appropriations, I would like to spread that throughout the appropriate departments, so, for the help and all of that. But so as not to confuse apples and oranges for this discussion, I left it there so you can see the comparison. So if you look at the first column, you can see it was $1,007,700,000 that was budgeted for 2014. And so the last column is $1,006,000. And again, keep in mind that that reflects only a part of the year. It's not a full year. Next year, you'll be able to realize the entire savings for the non-bargaining. So I guess we'll have to wait to see what the bargaining unit is.
Right.
But the savings is going to be non-bargaining. I just wanted to point that out because as you look on page 1, in most of the departments, you only see salaries. And the benefits you see there basically refer to pension. For some reason, have been traditionally paid out here in the city. So that really is the pension, the OP, and the finance. And OPERS, staff. So like I say, as you go down, you'll see other pays, representing some instances of cute payouts.
Wow. They're not cute when they're
And in some departments, the salary didn't change. I mean, for example, when you look at the dispatchers and secretary there, it's pretty much the exact same budget. But in others, it depends on if people change their insurances or taxes and different things, changes.
Madam Chair, is the central dispatching supposed to be kicking in this year, or is that next year?
I thought from what I had heard from the chief that it was going to be up and running in January.
Next year?
January.
Can I ask you, the question is the dispatch center, I thought was going to be absolutely positively running by January.
Every day it's open December 31st, the bid of this year, okay, 2014. So it's open on January 1st. It's out to bid for the construction documents, so back July 15th. So anticipate by August 1st,
Okay.
we should be on track.
But we should be up and running by then. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I address the mayor for a moment?
absolutely.
Excuse me, Mayor Lansky, did you want to address any of the changes in regards to personnel or departments?
No, not at this time.
Added election expenses up to 30,000. Is that, I'm on 6, page 6. It was 20. Are we for special election?
Well, what we have there is based on what, we feel that is coming in. I have to go back, like I said, in some of these, when we actually paid out an expense, I use that as the budget because we had to account for it. And look up the bill and tell you exactly, I think this is what the bill was.
30,000?
I think it's, but I will check that with you.
I can't hear very well.
We can't, yeah, we're having trouble hearing.
You might need the microphone or
I,
the
either, yeah.
stifle.
Tell her to pick them outside or in another room. Mrs. Brownlee, we're having a little trouble hearing. Is it possible? Okay, thank you. Or if you wanted to use the microphone. Okay. When the people that those kids were in the caucus, she said she's leaving.
I'll speak up.
Wait, that's 56. I don't think
Come
we're
on, get reaches. I could switch seats with her.
But whatever.
I'll speak up. I'll
Okay.
stand.
Well, I doesn't reach. Doesn't reach.
Yeah.
I can move.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Well, that's, we still have competition. I understand.
Please, just so she could use the mic.
You could use the mic if you sit down over there. Okay.
So anyway, these are the different departments that make up the general fund. I mean, even though it's all in the general fund, it's still a separate accounting for each of them. So that, you know, and I'll point out again is that the police expenditures and the fire are paid out of the ambulance building fund. So it's not in the general fund, but you will have that when you go through the special revenues
Right.
accounts. I don't know how you want to proceed, just want to go down, or give people time to look at it.
That might be a good idea. Are there any questions at this point? Any questions out there that need to be answered? We haven't had a whole lot of time to look this over, but I'm sure that with a little bit of review, we can come up with questions and send them to you. Is that a better?
I mean, I came thinking it was a working session, so, I mean, that's why I didn't see it.
That's fine. The other thing, Irene, that we really wanted to make sure that we were all good and ready to go for the the Monday meeting, July 7th, if we could have that ahead of time, is that a possibility?
That's
The tax budget. That's the tax budget.
Right.
Is that something that we could have ahead of time to
My
just look
goal
at?
is to finish that as soon as we finish this, yes.
Okay. Well, this is pretty much what we're looking at for the year, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And like I say, at the end of the year, it's customary and expected that it'll be revised because you'll have your
Right.
actual dollars
Right.
and numbers there. And so there'll be another revision, amendment at the end of the year when we have closer to our actual numbers for the year.
Okay.
So that we do not show, we're not supposed to show deficits, so for those that we can shift around.
Okay. Well, you'll have to get together with Kathy. She's not going to be here to hand out any special information, so in order for us to actually have it before Monday.
Give it to you.
Good.
I mean,
Okay, good, good.
I'm going to give them the ordinances and the agenda on Tuesday. So that, you know,
well, I'm
the
just saying that,
attachment.
I can put it in your box, or I can email it to you.
Good. That would be real helpful to have it ahead of time. Good, good. Are there any questions, any concerns from what we've seen at this point in time? No?
Well, let me just point out that on the very last page, you will see with the revised appropriations, which is still a little over, we need to come up with some solutions in terms of the $12,695,000 on page 10, the last column.
Right.
And then the revenue, if you look at the general fund revenue, it's 11.7. So we've got to get those numbers in line, and we can do it several ways. Like I said, some of the special revenue funds is not per se they're designated or not restricted. This body approved legislation to transfer to the general fund or be used or transfer expenses to some of those funds where there may be a surplus, which we'll see. But when we send this down, we'll have to make it balance. So right now, we still have that gap between the 12.6 and the 11.7.
And speaking of the gap, Irene, would you mind giving us the status of the audits? I've noticed there's been someone in the doing the audits.
Right now, we're finishing up the gap audit.
Okay.
So that's been almost a 40-hour-a-week endeavor for the last week or so with them. And my goal, they have to be finished with the gap audit, has to be filed in Columbus by July 31st. They usually allow at least a month for their field work, so they'll be wrapping it up soon, so they would have the month of July. And then Zupka, who does the independent audit, will be starting after the gap. They need to work from the gap to do the other audit. And their deadline is August 31st. They both were extended because of the circumstances, and they were waiting for information from the fiscal watch team back in April to see what the designation was going to be.
Okay.
And the fiscal watch team will be out July 1st.
Right.
So we're busy.
And we also invited Nita to come in and she offered some suggestions, some possible plans, and any other lingering questions that the council might have. So she offered to come in as well. So we scheduled her on Tuesday, July 8th.
Right. For one thing, like I say, that they will be looking at, the tax budget and this budget, and their expectation is that this budget will be balanced. So, now that we have the preliminary numbers, we know we need to go back and do some more work. That is what Mr. Yost was addressing in terms of the fiscal emergency.
Mm-hmm.
If the deficit balance increase, then that's when they put you in fiscal emergency.
Okay, we're hoping to avoid that.
So we have work to do to make sure these numbers, have to go back and tweak the numbers And, you know, like I say, this body can look at them also, we can find ways to close that gap between the 12 million 6 from the expenses and the, and as you can see, they're down about 500,000 from the original appropriation. It was like 13.1, so we did get down to 12.6. So the mayor and I probably go back to the drawing board and whatever.
And hope we don't have an emergency of any sort. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Anthony, go ahead.
So even with the revised figures and the layouts, you're still projecting $900,000 deficit.
The layoffs, really, we won't see the real benefit because remember that most of the savings won't start till after a month or so after they're gone.
Right.
And unfortunately, we've had lots of payouts, which sort of offsets that. You know, people have accrued. There's a lot of accrued time in
And
the
do
city.
you have a list of that stuff? Because I'd like to see what the payouts were.
You know,
Or
there's
is it a
records,
general amount?
In the payroll, right, in the payroll records, there's amounts that were paid out.
Right.
Right. So like I say, this year, we really won't see the fruits of that probably until next year, the full year, because the salaries, you know, may only be half of the salary for this year, plus offset with whatever payout that they may have received.
Right.
So,
Now, is the state going to allow for that kind of
Good question.
amount?
Good question.
Or is that going to cause it to go to fiscal emergency?
they will expect a balanced budget. You know, he gave the threshold about the 1/6 and the 1/12, you know. So that's the measurement, as well as seeing an improvement. So.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Part of what the auditor is probably looking for, and this is just a question, is aside from turning in this budget balanced or the best we can, don't we also have to, your favorite word, Ron,
The plan?
come up with some type of a 5-year, 3-year, whatever plan so we stay on budget so they can see what we're doing over the next 3 years. So if it's something like not giving raises for the next 3 years, or if it's cutting more health care, or whatever it is to do measures, as well as hopefully if the levies pass. But, you know, we can't put all our eggs in the basket either. So I'm just wondering, you know, are we also, we as in, you guys and us, thinking about that? Like what else we need to come up with?
Well, that's the purpose of the July 1st meeting when they come in, to offer advice, you know. But basically, like I say, it's a takeoff from the budget. I mean, because it is what it is, and whatever money we're generating, it starts the plan. And then you build on it into the successive years after that.
Yeah, we wouldn't be getting very far if we didn't have the red light cameras that save us right now. So if we didn't pass that, or if they weren't going to be put up, we'd be screwed. Or we'd be a very skinny city hall.
Generating revenue is difficult. Difficult. I can't. I mean, when you sit down and try to think, what are we going to have? Bake sales? Sell candy bars? We need a little more than that.
Oh, bingo. We're a charity.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Last week in that meeting, it was mentioned that the possibility of having the state supply an employee to help out with the planning of that budget.
That's the July 1st meeting. I'm sorry, maybe I didn't speak up. On July 1st, there's been a meeting set with the state's team, which will be Eunice Smith. She was at the meeting last week. Anita, which I guess most of you know. And there was another name that I wasn't familiar with on the email. So we're going to meet at 8 o'clock, start the process on July 1st to, start working on the plan and whatever assistance that they will give.
Did you have a comment?
Yes, I did.
Go ahead.
When are we going to talk about the invoice report? Invoice age report, can we talk about that today, or you want to wait?
Which report? Invoice report. Go ahead.
Okay.
You have questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Are y'all looking 120 days, $21,570?
Some of those, Madam Chair, some of those are related to contracts. Is that one of the CRAs that Leslie had? I think so. There was 3. And there's a couple on there, the payments. I guess there's some discussion about the payments. So it's not that we don't know they're there, ignored.
What about the Lumen Company?
The Illuminating Company? We try to keep up to date on the utilities.
Lumen Company? 60 days.
It could be. What we have to remember is that during the month of May, very few bills were paid. We had 3 payrolls, debt service, and whatever emergency that could come up, which had a large cash requirement. Also, our overhead is quite extensive. I mean, we have like 3 huge bills that add up to over $250,000 every month. We add that with payroll. That's almost $1 million. I mean, not the payroll, but when you add those bills, such as the medical bill, which is usually about $125,000 or more, and then we add waste management, another $100,000. I mean, this is every month.
Okay, my question is, are we in danger of anything getting shut off?
No. They call, I mean, there's an issue with that. Now, when I first came, there were bills where we were getting shut-off notices.
Okay.
We're not getting any shut-off. Now, I understand that there was some misstep, I think yesterday or sometime about the gas, and I'm not sure what that was about. Because according to our records. See, one of the things, too, is that we're still gathering bills, making sure they're coming to the right place. I'm not sure that all of the bills come to finance because they're at different locations, so sometimes they're sent to those locations on occasion. But I think that we pretty much have them channeled now. And I don't know, when I first started, I know there was a few that was coming here to the senior center, and it may have been by design. I know there's been a few that goes to the police department. And so sometimes we don't know about the bill, although we do know there's utility bills every month. But because there's so many different locations, I can't remember now, but maybe Chief or someone can help me, but we're talking in the teens in terms of the number of meters and what have you. So we're trying to get that set up so that we can do a checklist to know exactly which one. Because we do not get like one bill for all of the city. We may get 10 or 15 different bills. So yeah, sometimes it's been challenging to keep up with them.
Just as long as we're not getting shut off.
No, the lights are on.
Okay.
It's the same, I mean, it would be the same utility, but they're sending 10 different
We
bills
could for different
Oh, yeah.
meters. Yeah, they send it by the meters.
rather than the company.
Same with the gas.
Mhm.
I mean, we have a whole stack of them. So it's really, takes some monitoring to keep up with. But we are organizing now. So we have a spreadsheet and we have a check-off list so we'll know when we pay them. But until they all start rolling in, to be honest, I wasn't even sure which ones there were. I didn't expect that many separate bills. But they've been kind. They'll call or what have you. And we pay them.
Okay, any other questions? Are we good? Okay, Alex, go ahead.
The smaller vendors, like paper, this, water, and so forth. Are y'all caught up?
Well, like I said, on the agent report it shows, but for the most part, just give you an example. I received a call yesterday. It was the first time I had the call that there's something that goes way back to 2013 I'm not sure it's even on that list. See, if we don't get the invoice, it doesn't get on that list. We have to enter into the system in order for it to even show up on that list. So I had a call to come in that I need to return because I have no idea what they're talking about. It's something back in September of 2013 and we get those kind of calls, and I'm not sure why they wait a year to contact us or what have you. So,
Okay. Anthony, go ahead.
I have a question about your projections here on the graph of this here. Yeah, page 2, and obviously account 251, it was 1.4 million last year. You projected at 1.5 million for the trash, and then all of a sudden you're projecting 1.6 million, an increase of 100,000. Is there any reason for that?
yeah, this is the revenue, not for the bill.
I understand that.
Okay, so this is the last tax bill that we received in March. It was well over $800,000.
Okay.
So I just made an assumption, that it should be pretty static. I mean, because it's every 6 months. But we'll know for sure September whether it is that amount. So that's why I projected it to be that based on the activities we've had this year.
Yeah, I'm not projecting it to be 1.6, to be honest with you. So,
Should be down.
the
Should be down.
What would you suggest that it be?
1.5.
1.5? Okay, well, like
I mean,
said, we're gonna track
it's all opinion, but I mean, I don't see an increase because we didn't increase the fees.
Okay. This is the
Unless people started paying.
This is the receipts and the revenue. If you want to look at the tax duplicate, you can. This is the check that came to us. I'm just basing it on what's going on, not whether or not the fees increased. If they send us $800,000, that's what we got. I mean, I don't know if some could be delinquent. I mean, I don't get that kind of detail. I just get a bill to say special assessment for this assessment, and this is the amount. It doesn't send me a list of who's included in terms of addresses or parcel numbers. That does not come with the bill. So.
Okay.
But we do get the delinquency. We do apply to get them, so we know house, what city, what house in the city.
No, I don't know that. When I get the tax bill, maybe I'm doing it's the tax bill, and it lists out what they're paying us for. Like it'll say special assessments. They have different numbers. It could be for sidewalks or whatever. But I won't get a list of whose sidewalk it was or where it was. It just may say for the sidewalks or lights or sewer, whatever assessment they put on the books. But it does not list that.
Yeah, we could use that to identify the houses that are empty, not paying taxes, and do a follow-up with them.
Well, we'll have to go to the county to ask them for that detail.
It's not a good indicator, though.
What's that doing?
It's not a good indicator just because it's tax delinquent doesn't necessarily mean that it's a vacant house. It's a corollary, but it's not a good indicator.
I know they pay the taxes.
Okay, I think for any other questions we should send to Irene and be prepared through email to ask and get an answer. And then our next meeting should be Monday, July 7th. Unless we call another one. Please. Hopefully we don't need to call another one immediately, but we will do that. And I think Tony has a meeting in between. Yeah, Tony has a meeting on July 1st. That's it's a committee meeting, so not everybody needs to attend that, except the committee people. Okay, and Irene will be ready with the information for us and put in your boxes or email, however it works.
And I guess we'll continue the discussion of
Absolutely, absolutely.
They'll be on first reading on the 7th, both the tax budget and the appropriations.
Right, so that'll, any questions that are lingering in between now and then, you need to get them, that has to be passed. You've got all the deadlines, I think, on your calendar. So with that, I think we can adjourn the meeting at 7:40.